Hello, everybody. For those of you who are watching this event on YouTube, you'll see a few things that you probably wouldn't be able to obviously see when you listen to the podcast. For those who are listening to the audio version of the podcast, this is episode 76. And um, during this episode, rather, I'm going to be talking about some recent equipment acquisitions that I've had, and some future plans for the website, because life happened, so I had to shift my goals a little bit, which is fine. And there's that old adage, don't give up so easily, and don't set yourself up, for failure, which I kind of started doing at the beginning of the year. So without further ado, hopefully I'll have some guests. If not, hey, it's cool. It's cool, no problem. Those who are following, you've been invited to just join in. And if it doesn't happen, no big deal. And forgive me, because I've just got through a week of night shifts at my main source of work, and yeah, I'll probably be belching a little bit throughout the episode, to be honest, because drinking some choice beverage mixed in my Spider-Man mug. Thank you, Dad. He's always I get a lot of my nerdiness from him. He's been a comic book fiend at heart, and among his favorite characters is Daredevil. So with that said, I've recently, I'll go with the newest thing first, because this newest thing is going to enable me to do a lot more things away from World Headquarters. World Headquarters is back in Warrensburg, Missouri, and I am living in the biggest room I've ever had, so that's going to create a lot of possibilities, including a studio that I'm setting up slowly but surely in this corner. Now, in my hands is a ZTE, let me see if I got my notes right here, Z289G. This is a mobile hotspot that operates through the MVNO Straight Talk, and this is a standard hotspot. I did a speed test on it. I got over 16 megabits per second for downloads, slightly over 1 megabit per second upload, and 99 millisecond ping time or something like that. And it charges through this little port right here. And I've got the wall adapter charger, what have you, through here. I can actually separate this if I want to connect it to a computer. And one of the reasons one might want to do that is if they decide to put a micro SD card in here. So that does come in handy. I'm assuming if somebody wants to say, oh, I'm going to charge this and load some standard software onto a computer or open up certain documents or what have you, they can. So that's pretty much it. But part of the reason why I have this hotspot and why I actually need it is because of the fact that I have smart devices. I have this Galaxy S4, also through Straight Talk, by the way. It's only running Android Jelly Bean, but that's fine. There have been some instances of, the case does something nifty, by the way, as you can see right here. You close it, shows the time and everything else. If an alarm goes off, I can actually use the little film to move. Only time the touch part works is when an alarm goes off and I say shut off. But it does come in handy. And I moved my 32 gigabyte micro SD card into that. I previously had a Samsung Galaxy Note 3 through AT&T, and not to get into too much personal details about my personal life per se, I was in a relationship with somebody and they liked me so much they added me to their AT&T plan, and I got to use the Note 3 for a while. When the relationship ended, they wound up with the Note 3 and all of that, which I'm glad, because their old phone was a Galaxy S3. I tried convincing them to switch in the first place, but they would have none of it for whatever reason, and I don't know why. But S3s are apparently notorious for when they start failing. Oh, they start failing very, very hard. When they get age long enough, things just break on them. In her case, it was the battery and the contacts for when she plugs the USB cable in to charge it, and everything else. And me being still somewhat new to the mobile device arena, I had to learn the hard way myself that for, say, devices like this and quite a few tablets, you need to pay attention to charging accessories. Because a lot of them, a lot of the newer ones, if it's not 2.1 amp, your battery's not going to charge very fast or charge correctly. So I've learned a little bit through that. Part of the reason that I needed to acquire this is, say I'm at my main source of income at the moment, retail job, I'm on lunch, I need to update the website. I cannot use this as a mobile hotspot. Straight Talk's terms of service prohibits that. And I can understand why. The prices of their plans, are they the absolute cheapest? Not quite, but data-wise, they give you the most bang for your buck, so to speak. Straight Talk plans, especially on smartphones, for like the $45 plan it's 3 gigabytes of high-speed data. That is not bad at all. But the good news is I have a mobile hotspot now, and I chose the 4 gigabyte plan for now because I'm like, oh, we'll see how it does, and plus it lasts for 2 months. So if I'm very efficient with this, and I like the cool green color. It's on the outside. It's pretty cool. But if I'm very efficient with this, I'll be good until May. And that's the important part. And if it turns out my needs grow beyond 4, highest tier at the moment is 5 that I can get. So that'll help me out quite a bit. Now, where it will come in handy is, and an update recently fixed this, by the way. My Chromebook right here, and I'm not going to turn it on at the moment. The Samsung Chromebook, it's one of the original models of it. Because I like tablets, don't get me wrong, but I prefer a full screen keyboard to a lot of other things. But that's also why I have this, which is my RCA tablet. It's the Pro 10 edition, and it came bundled with this little folio with the keyboard integrated, and I bought a little stylus to use as kind of a tapping pointing device. Although I'm going to figure out how to get a mouse for it so that I can be like not smudge the screen as much. Because I don't want to deal with screen covers or anything like that. But with future issues of the online magazine, what I intend to do with it is use those particular devices. Like the tablet I can easily use because I need, I just need something very, very simple. Right now, I have to copy and paste from PDFs. So right now, using a conventional notebook computer or this desktop that I'm recording this episode from is going to have to suffice for the time being, because it's a little bit easier to copy and paste. And what I'm having to do is I'm having to copy and paste text from a PDF, because I originally chose PDF because a PDF, HTML is great. Word documents, publisher documents, or what have you, depending on what software you're using, you get good at it. It's something you're used to and it works great, except it may not look the same on every single system, right? Well, that's why I chose PDF. The only problem is PDF can become prohibitive very quickly in file size if you have more content for each issue. HTML files are much smaller. You can insert images as you see fit. And with the recent HTML5 stuff that's been added, mainly the audio and video tags, I can add exclusive content and make it a little bit more semi-interactive, to a point to where you can see how-to videos, exclusive interviews, and what have you for these things. And at some point, I'm going to have to get a hold of a real video camera. Don't get me wrong, this device has a camera that works fairly well. I could get a selfie stick and aim it. Actually, I may just do that. Selfie stick, that might actually be a better idea. For taking photographs, I could use that, but I'll probably have to get a camera with a decent lens, because these things have plastic lenses. Those aren't always going to work very well if you want good detail. But, and oh yeah, this thing has a camera and everything else. And this, by the way, is running KitKat. I don't think there are any firmware updates for it at the moment to Lollipop. And I don't think anybody's found a way to root this RCA tablet. Not that I'd want to, because it functions fine as it is. And it had an initial quirk with part of its touchscreen, but with this keyboard folio, I can work around it. At some point, I'm going to want to get probably a Samsung-based tablet, because I have 2 credit card reading machines, or accessories, one from Square, and I actually have one from PayPal. Square, I haven't checked yet, but let me install the app. So there's a chance that it'll work in this tablet. The PayPal card reader will not work on this because the app will not install on this. PayPal's mobile app won't install on this either, which honestly kind of blows, because turning a tablet into a point of sale device, would kind of defeat the purpose of that, but that's okay. Initially I wanted to do something to kind of make this a little bit more serious in terms of dedication to the website and everything else. This website's existed since late 2006, thenextreport.com. The only problem is I wasn't always consistent in terms of content creation. Here's the thing. I set myself up for failure, and I think I kind of did it because I was depressed, down in the dumps, because I wasn't happy where I was in life. I was living in a place that I didn't want to be at, because I felt that I progressed too far, again, in a relationship that I wasn't frankly ready for. And that was my fault. It was nobody else's fault. It was that one was my fault. And I wound up hurting somebody else. And it's never pleasant. It's always awkward. There are other things, other details, but they're just details at this point. The fact of the matter is I wasn't ready for that kind of thing. And there could very well be a possibility that I may never be ready for something like that because of the things that I want to accomplish in my life. So I learned quite a bit, and I also learned that I shouldn't be setting myself up for failure either. I initially wanted to have all of the magazines converted to web pages, HTML-based, web-based, by now. Well, life kind of happened. February came and relationship came to an end, and I had to move back up here to Warrensburg in a hurry. Because I'm sure many people who may be watching this, who may be listening through the podcast audio feed, they may understand that, living with somebody you've broken up with can get very awkward in a hurry. So the sooner that you get out of there, the better off everybody will be. And that's the truth of the matter in that regards. It got awkward really fast. And though I wished it didn't happen the day before Valentine's Day, it happened to be the moment where I said enough was enough. Our paths in life were not compatible, so I had to move on. So I kind of pushed back the conversion process. I'm going to do my best to get it done by the end of this month, which it's a lot of tedious work and it's boring, but I've got things copied and pasted from the second issue. Hooray, right? So that would mean I have 4 more things to copy and paste from, right? And if I spend enough time on it, I should easily be able to do it within a short period of time. It's just tedious, it's boring. I have to copy and paste to a text editor, and then from the text editor, I have to delete certain spaces that is inserted for whatever reason, so that when I paste it back over into, HTML editing software, which I'm using Blue Griffin because it supports the audio video tag. Because, I can code web pages. I've done it before. The only problem is I don't have the patience to do that on each and every single page. Instead, it's better if I decide to paste it into an editor that gives you a WYSIWYG, or what you see is what you get kind of thing, so that I can see on the screen what it's going to look like when I open it up in a web browser. That's kind of where I'm at right now. So I have to get everything copied and pasted over. And again, at some point, I'm either going to have to get an actual camcorder that can record, high quality video that's dedicated for the purpose of recording video, because at some point I'm going to offer paid subscriptions where people have exclusive access to video. I can, for now, shoot a video on this or a video on this. Only problem is video is not going to be the greatest of quality, and I want halfway decent quality. But I'm also going to be using, WebM. So if your browser doesn't support WebM, you may want to get a browser that does. Internet Explorer, I think, even now supports it. If not, there are third-party plugins that that allow, not plugins, but software that lets you do that. Other browsers do support it because the plan is simple. Each issue still is going to be mostly free to view online, but you're going to see ads inserted. You're not going to see exclusive video content because that's going to kill bandwidth on a lot of servers at the moment. WebM is wonderful, but there's still a lot of optimization that has to take place. And convincing hardware manufacturers to, unless I'm far behind on that as well, that's entirely possible. But they're still convincing hardware manufacturers to say, hey, support hardware decoding on this as well. So, and there's that potential issue in addition to all of that. But the thing of it is, having all of that done, for like subscribers, they'll have things that are shipped to them, as in, and this is going to mainly start out in the United States only, although people would be free to create ISO copies of the disk itself so that others can download it, burn it, view it. Or if they have some sort of software that just simply mounts the disk image as a file system so they can view the contents of the magazine. Because I'm kind of bringing back, to an extent, what people tried to do with Launch magazine, or Launch, which came on a CD-ROM. It was interactive. Though at some point it just kind of went away. But that sort of stuff with HTML5, that's going to become more of a possibility now. You don't need system-intensive Adobe Flash. Back then it was called Shockwave Flash, but you don't need Flash anymore. For a lot of this stuff, you can program it in HTML5 with the canvas and everything else. In my case, I'm going to keep it simple and just have audio and video embedded into there directly. And if all works out well in the future, guess what? I will be able to do other cool things as well with this, like an app developed for it, and a special application that would be available for virtually every platform, where you open it up and it'll render the pages for you regardless of whether you had the browser or not installed anyway. I am hoping to work up enough of an audience to where I can convince artists, video producers, what have you, to, hey, if you have an independent film, would you be able to make the first 15 to 20 minutes of it available to entice people to buy a copy of the film or buy a copy of the album, available in various places, that sort of thing. And I think that would serve as a good promotional tool. So, using viral style marketing, because it does work. Other people have used it successfully, even so-called crazy conspiracy theorists, who are also laughing all the way to the bank, so to speak, because they spent years and years building loyalty. And that's the important key, is building that loyal base. And that's what I need to do. Now, and I admit, my Facebook or our Facebook fan page likes have dropped, but the likes don't tell the full story. Got to have that reach. And I eventually want to see more people talking about stuff on the fan page, sharing stuff with everybody they know, going, hey, this is kind of weird but cool, or something like that. Those sorts of things. So I'd like to see that happen, and that's the whole point. Now, I know I don't have anybody watching, but hey, at the moment, according to my view counter through this Hangout session, but hey, I would have tried recording through just a webcam upload, but the thing crashed. Go figure, right? But I do have a few more goals in mind. I would like to have at least 2 more podcast co-hosts on the show, because to me, there needs to be episodes where I'm not there all the time. There needs to be differing points of view, people bringing cool stuff to the show. You know, recently Comic-Con happened in Kansas City. At the same time as NakaCon, which kind of created a little bit of a conflict. I wasn't at either event. I was working all weekend. And if I wasn't in the life situation that I was in, I probably would have been able to go to those events. Anyway, but and if I didn't have a conflict with a landlord last year, I probably would have gone to NakaCon. I was looking forward to it, but after the whole conflict and everything else, and me thinking about moving, getting in the mode of moving to another place at the time, like, no, I need to spend my time off moving. So, and there were other bills I had to take care of and all that good stuff. That combination was like, I shouldn't be doing this, but yeah. Anyway, I am wanting to recruit at least 2 more people to the podcast. If you know of anybody who might be interested, give a shout out. We're everywhere. Message our fan page, message our Google Plus page. We're on Google Plus, thenextreport.com. Most of our social networking links are in the sidebar, except for Tumblr. We're on Tumblr as well. The theme that we're using through the WordPress theme, it's a self-hosted WordPress site, by the way, does not have the ability to add a Tumblr icon, although it would be cool if they could. But I digress on that one. At the moment, I don't know. And yes, there's a choice beverage in here, by the way. I am celebrating St. Patrick's Day in the United States a day early, and if you look at the nextreport.com/podcasts and you go back to some of our earlier episodes, you'll discover kind of the real origins of St. Patrick's Day, and it didn't always involve alcohol. And by the way, the luck of the Irish, that was actually a derogatory comment about the Irish, because they were going through horrible luck at the time, at some of the times that they've been through, the potato famine, among other things. So, oh yeah, the luck of the Irish, as in their fortune just frankly sucked. It just, and yet they're still there. They've endured, and there's a lot of good culture in Ireland as well. Lots of good culture, and it's pretty cool. But I digress. I digress a lot. But the idea is to recruit a couple more podcast co-hosts. I want to be able to start setting up subscriptions and charging for them so that people get access to exclusive content that they can see and everything else, and that can eventually bring in money, that can eventually bring in better equipment, bring in other professionals that can do better graphics, that sort of thing. Because a lot of the graphics and stuff, I can do simple graphics myself. The WordPress template mostly was done by somebody else that you can freely download, and I altered bits and pieces of it that I could. The banners I've made, because sometimes all you have to know is I knew what worked, black and white. A former co-host basically said the banner I'd created sent chills down their spine. It was just, they thought it was freaking amazing. And sometimes some stuff works. It does work. But yeah, to recap, I now have a GSM-based mobile hotspot that operates off of the mobile virtual network operator Straight Talk. It's the ZTE Mobile Hotspot, GSM-based. Based upon a speed test that I did, it probably bounces off of AT&T's network because you look for advertisements for a lot of T-Mobile. T-Mobile does not advertise that they're the fastest LTE network anymore. You'll see release the data hounds and that sort of thing, but you don't see advertisements of the fastest LTE network because AT&T now likely beats them at about 20 megabits per second. This one I only got about 16, but no big deal. This one I get about 8 or so, 6 to 8, somewhere around there. But I don't need any more than that on a cell phone. If I want to take pictures, send it to Facebook and everything else, hey, that's great. And I don't have, oh, by the way, I don't have the stylus on me. It's all the way across the room. But it's an iFrog stylus that I have, which probably going to have to get a more high quality one if I really literally want to write on the tablet that I have, which again is, for those of you who are watching on YouTube, I'm going to point this up in the camera. This is kind of what it looks like, kind of like, your normal portable computer. And I actually am able to hook it up to the TV now because I actually purchased the right cable for it. In a slightly older episode, I said I bought a micro HDMI to HDMI cable. I need a mini HDMI to HDMI cable. And the one I bought had all the necessary ones on it. So if I had another device that only had micro HDMI, I could use that. But I'm going to go ahead and keep that wrong cable in case I need it one day, because with my luck, I'm going to need it one day. And everything else. Oh, that reminds me. Here's the charger for the RCA tablet, by the way. Micro USB. Like I said, if I can find a mouse, which I was told by Shaggy that most of your Bluetooth mice are going to be made in China, so you're going to pay for shipping. So I might as well just get a kind of an adapter to a USB hub or whatever and go from there. But yeah. But at some point, I'm going to need to get some better equipment, because right now this desktop has 4 gigabytes of RAM, which is sufficient for the time being. I have a bigger monitor now, and all of that, and that was given to me. The upgrades and the new monitor was given to me as a gift that I very much appreciate to this day. And and I could be all emotional and everything else. And again, I'm not going to get into details, but I could try to get rid of it to avoid the awkwardness of past situations. But on the other hand, that's a waste of good technology. And I'd be an idiot to let good tech go to waste like that. Since I have this monitor that's an Asus monitor that's LCD, LED actually. It's really, really good. It's amazing. And it's a high definition monitor with built-in webcam and everything else, which is why some of the videos on Hangouts have gotten better. Um, I have some good equipment to work with for the time being. At some point, I'm going to need to acquire better equipment so that I can produce higher quality content. But at the moment, I have some stuff that's pretty darn good, and I'm very, very proud of it. Anyway, some of the goals for the site obviously have been altered. Whether I make the goal of making $700 with this website this year is met or not, I don't think I should give up. I was trying to motivate myself to kick it into high gear, but I was doing it in the wrong way, so to speak. And for that reason, I like doing this. There have been times where I've had to be motivated or had situations motivating me to pick up the pieces and get going again. And I'll give you an example of that. I recently acquired a tower from a coworker. The thing I still got to dust the thing out, by the way. Transplant a motherboard possibly and see what happens, and insert a hard drive and see what happens. Cross my fingers and pray that it doesn't explode, by the way. Because one of my weaknesses is, in this case, I'm grateful that I don't have to transplant a CPU. I don't have the patience of inserting a CPU into a motherboard. I just don't. And waiting for the thermal paste to dry or anything like that. It boggles my mind. I can upgrade parts, insert parts, and things like that, and yell, complain, bitch, and moan about it. But I can do it for the most part. It's using the thermal paste properly, connecting the cooling parts, the coolant accessories, so to speak, properly. That drives me up the wall. I'm impatient. I want to set the thing up now and use it now. That's kind of why I like Chromebooks, by the way, and Android tablets, because I can use those almost right away. But I digress yet again. But I should have taken those hard drives out quickly, because my coworker's daughter had some songs on there that they wanted to get off of there. She finally was, beyond livid, or about to get beyond livid. I was bugged to do it and said, look, she's getting aggravated. Can you please do this? And I finally did. And I finally figured out how the hard drives went in there, which, like, my goodness, this thing is convoluted. But, and needless to say, the sides on this case, I'm not going to bother putting back on. Yeah, it's going to have a lot more heat coming out of it, and maybe some more noise. But on the other hand, it's going to remain a lot cooler if I do it that way. The video card is halfway decent from what I understand, and it's pretty good actually. And it's an AMD video card basically. The motherboard I'm going to be transporting over is going to be an AMD-based motherboard. And likely, I'll turn that into a basic Frankenstein workstation that works pretty well. And everything else, and I'll see what I can do with it. And actually, I don't think I plugged this in. But I actually still have this, and I'm not going to give it away for anything. This Breeze 3110 from Verizon, I still actually own it, and I'm still going to own it until the thing just freaking breaks and just self-destructs. But I may upgrade the optical drive to a DVD burner just because I can, and it'll actually discs through that and be done with it. I may turn it into a workstation. Only problem is I'm going to need another monitor. I don't have another monitor because I also acquired a older Dell tower that I can also use as a generic workstation. And that's what's going to happen with it, by the way. I'm going to use it as a workstation and put Ubuntu Mate Edition there so that I can use it to just type up documents and everything else and be done with it. Although I'll probably have to upgrade the memory in it. Only problem is it'll be somewhat expensive because this particular Dell tower uses what's called Rambus RAM, RD RAM. And it's highly proprietary. At the time, it functioned very well within Intel, better than DDR. But it was expensive at the time. And there was a reason it went kaput within years. But several years ago, it was actually very, very good for a lot of hardcore stuff. I would likely upgrade the hard drive in it over time, upgrade the graphics card, which the graphics card's okay for a workstation graphics card about several years ago. Only issue at hand is I'd probably have to go on eBay and gamble on eBay because the power supply on this thing is very, very prohibitive on upgrades. As in, it'll only handle so much before it just goes, no, I'm not doing that, which is fine. It's still very upgradable. I do have to open it up anyway, and I got that one doing work for a client who wanted me to back up data for him, look for specific data. Hasn't found that data yet, but I keep looking. And I imagine I'll be looking through more machines after April 15th. So in about a month, I'll be looking at more of their systems in order to see if I can find any data. And honestly, I'm probably going to have to invest in a hard drive docking station. It's one where you have the little dock sitting on your desk and it's connected through USB, and you can just plug in a hard drive, make it hot swappable and all of that, and boom, you can see if you can find any data. Because moving it into another tower, trying to turn that tower on, it's great if you want to make sure that that particular tower actually powers on and functions. But if you're just looking for data at the moment, that can be time consuming too, switching out hard drives. And it's better if you have a dock on a computer that's running an operating system that can understand multiple partition types and can at least let you see what's on that hard drive. So I may have to ask Shaggy what dock he uses, because he owns one. I may have to ask him, hey, dude, what dock is that and how did you acquire it? Because if it works well for him, I'm probably going to want to acquire the same one and all of that. Oh, and I also acquired something that I can try experiments on. This is the Seashell series of the Asus EPC, EEEPC, however you want to pronounce it, that had Windows 7 Starter Edition. They tried to flash the BIOS. Something went wrong, and now it's an unknown BIOS error. It will boot into a version of Arch Linux. I tried logging in. Keyboard doesn't work for whatever reason, so I may have to. Oh, and by the way, the damn thing is actually. Let me see if I can show you here. The screen is actually falling apart. You can, for those of you watching on YouTube through Google Hangouts, you can clearly see there, Houston, we've got a problem right there, but that's okay. I would likely, and this is going to, since it's already, you know, somewhat broken anyway. And I'm looking at the ports. I may try to just boot off the SD card and just try to flash the BIOS through that, or install an OS on it. Who knows? If I can just install an OS on it, I won't care about any BIOS errors. I'll just use it as a typing device. And that just hit my headphone. That was not very smart of me. Until the thing upchucks completely, and then I'll just pull the RAM and hard drive out of it and find something to do with it. And to the one viewer who has joined, I thank you for joining, and all of that. Though there's about less than 15 minutes to go, but oh, dang it. And I really need to set up my workspace better. There we go. Mouse got stuck there. Hate it when that happens. As you can see, behind me is a chair where that, and yeah, I'm digressing a lot, but at some point I want a corner desk in that chair and everything else. Or I may have the corner desk over here where it's facing me. I haven't decided yet. There's going to be multiple desks, at least 3. The second desk is this former photography table, and I acquired that through kind of a charity-driven event. Charity-driven as in the photography place inside the place I was working filed for bankruptcy, and the company gave them so much time to get rid of their stuff, and then finally they're like, forget it, we're going to just auction their stuff off. The stool I'm sitting on came from there. This was a photography table, obviously, that came from there. I'm using it as a rolling desk. I may set machines or something that are low powered, don't require much cooling inside of it, along with additional monitors, and I've got to acquire additional monitors. More than anything, if you want to help out the website, by the way, monitors that connect through VGA are very, very helpful, preferably LCDs, because they consume less power and take up less space. Go to thenextreport.com. There's a contact us link. You can contact us through our Facebook fan page, Google Plus page as well. Just say, hey, I have a working LCD. Working as in, you know, none of the colors are just, you know, all the pixels are working just fine and the colors show correctly. And just let us know, hey, I've got some monitors that are not getting any use, and we'd rather somebody have them that are going to use them, and we'll send out a shipping address and everything else. But yeah, I need monitors more than anything, because I have multiple workstations that I could have set up, but I lack monitors. And I have a TV on the end of the room, but I'm not going to use that as a monitor. That is absolutely ridiculous. A TV like that, I should have some sort of media type thing connected to it to watch the news and things like that. I can connect my tablet to it now, but I'm not going to have it connected all the time. Um, but that's but yeah, that's what I'm looking for right now in the immediate future. It's going to be more monitors because, and heck, this Asus monitor, I may see if I can actually acquire another one and then acquire another different video card for this tower that has multiple HDMI ports and an HDMI cable so I can have a dual monitor set up. And then I move the other LCD monitor onto this desk or something. But that's more down the road. Anyway, that's pretty much what I have for the time being, except for a few anecdotes. Some of the stuff I kind of went over because I'm not going to make the assumption that you've listened to previous episodes of our podcast, watched our previous hangouts, or anything like that. And I just want to be able to create good content for people. And again, thanks to this, which I have close to 4 gigabytes left of data I can use on this, which is awesome. And I'm not going to turn it on. And actually, if I go visit my mom tomorrow, I may see if this has any service down there. It's kind of down a hill, so I doubt it, but it'd be cool if I did. And I have this. I have this Chromebook, though it's kind of getting old in the tooth at the moment. Towards the end of the year, I may upgrade to an HP model that uses an NVIDIA Tegra processor. Yes, I would go for a Chromebook Pixel, the new one, but I am not willing, even through credit, I am not willing to pay that much for one at the moment. If I can acquire one through profiting off of the website and everything else, then sure, but no, that's okay. I want at least a machine, a workstation of sorts or something like that with a full-size keyboard that is ARM based, that runs off of an ARM style processor. That one does, the Chromebook does from Samsung, their Exynos processor. And this RCA tablet does, which is, and this one again runs Android KitKat, which there was a firmware update when I first turned the thing on, which I was like, whoa. Since this is a Straight Talk branded phone, firmware update is not very likely at this point. I'd be surprised if I had a firmware update, but unless it's something very, very serious, they're not going to do it. And honestly, with some updates that have caused phones to heat up a little too much because they were sent out before they were ready, I can deal with slightly older firmware as long as there's stability involved. So I don't mind that at all. At some point down the road, I'll probably upgrade to a newer phone through Straight Talk should it become available. The important part is if you go with somebody like Straight Talk, do not cheap out on their phones. You will be aggravated as all let out. Get a higher tier phone like an S4, or if you're wanting like some neat nifty phone like a Nexus or something like that, buy it unlocked, or buy a Google Play edition of it, and then go get the bring your own phone kit from Straight Talk. And at that point, you're good to go. Just check with them to see if that phone's going to be compatible. If I had been able to keep the Note 3, I wasn't. But if I had, I probably would have gotten the Straight Talk Bring Your Own Phone kit. And I would have put it in that. But that's neither here nor there. And honestly, I didn't use the stylus as much as I would have liked. But that's all right. I don't mind an S4. And when it becomes available, I may target an S5 through Straight Talk. But for now, I don't mind the S4. It's functioned for me very well so far. And it has more than enough oomph to do what I need it to do, which is make phone calls, get on various social networking sites like Facebook and what have you. I even have WPS Office installed. And by the way, that used to be known as Kingsoft Office, which is free. They changed the brand to WPS Office. I actually have an alpha build installed on my Ubuntu workstation, which I'm recording this off of, by the way. And if people who develop LibreOffice want to improve that suite, you want to know how you can do that? You don't have to prettify the interface. WPS is very beautiful, by the way. They have kind of a ribbon-like interface, so those who are used to newer versions of Microsoft Office may feel at home with it to a point. But what WPS Office has over LibreOffice and other alternatives is that it can pull templates from an online repository. If you want to make something like LibreOffice better, have the ability to pull templates online and say, hey, do you want to pull a template from online? Make it in a really easy interface to do that. That way people can be like, I want to write a memo, I want to write a letter, a press release, something, or put together some brochure or something. And then from there, they click, I want to create something new from this template online. It'll pull the template, download it, open it in a new document, whatever, and bam, there you go. The only thing that WPS, one of the only things it does not do is frankly databases. That's why LibreOffice needs better templates, because LibreOffice has base. You can create databases that people can search through and everything else, which in the past there have been stability issues with it, but the cool part is with being able to create your own database of information, and I plan on using base to enter customer information in for various enterprises of mine. I plan on using that because a database application can come more in handy than a spreadsheet application. Database applications allow you to put information in, but they also allow you to set up little things to search for that information so you can find it easily and be like, okay, I need to contact this person about this thing or another, or get a hold of them. I search for them, boom, there they are. I have their number, I have their mailing address. Their date of birth is on this day. I want to send them a card wishing them a happy birthday or something. I can do that. So long story short, and I've rambled quite a bit, but that's okay. Long story short, the end of the year can come. I can make zero profit off this website. But you know what? If it's not a labor of love, why am I doing it? I still want to see if I can make that goal. Crowdfunding, I may still do yet, but it would be for very vastly different. I've also had an offer to contribute to a website by an editor whose websites I've contributed to in the past, and I need to discuss with them whether I want to contribute to their new site or not. They complimented me on me finding some very good applications through Chrome OS, through the Chrome Web Store. But every now and then, if I want to experiment on something, I can probably say, hey, I experimented on this technological thing. Yeah, I look like Grizzly Adams. I apologize for that. Um, I really need to get rid of some of this, but I've been too lazy to, frankly, and I need to because it's tickling my nose. But yet again, I digress. And to the one viewer, by the way, I do appreciate you um, watching me for the last few minutes, um, ranting and raving and all of that. I don't know if it's because you're like, hey, this sounds cool, or I feel sorry for the poor sucker. Why not? But I may actually go past the 1:30 p.m. mark for a little bit. I already have, but that's okay. If you want to hang in there for a while, I can chat a little bit longer, talk a little bit longer. I don't mind. I only intended this to be about an hour, but why not? I'm feeling adventurous and everything else. So yeah, if I were to write for this particular website, yeah, I would focus likely on Chrome OS. I probably would try to focus on mobile devices now that I have this RCA tablet, by the way. There's some more advanced stuff that I'd experiment with and say, this is what I experimented with, this is what I found. And thank goodness the camera is just decent enough to where I can take some pictures and say, I'm going to, because like an article idea might be how to fix this unknown BIOS error thing, because Shaggy used to own this, by the way. And I'm going to show you kind of what happens when I turn this thing on. It will boot. It will boot. It will boot, and you will probably see unknown BIOS error code 8801. Actually, in this case, it's error code ACE3, and it's probably from a bad flash of the BIOS. And the funny thing is, like I can actually run setup, by the way. And right now, it was a corrupted flash that happened to the BIOS. But this thing apparently has Bluetooth on it. If I can get an OS working on this, I won't care. He let me have it because he really can't do anything with it at the moment. Boot device priority. I'm going to disable this thing. Actually, what happens if I save the changes and exit now? I'm going to see if this thing, yep, it's still, see, I don't know what this onboard error means, but it's probably from a bad BIOS flash, and they tried downgrading the flash. It didn't work. I may get adventurous and try to put core boot on it and see what happens. It has an Intel Atom processor on there. It might actually work. I don't know yet. And yeah, I'm kind of hiding the mixture of my beverage at the moment because I eventually want to monetize this, and I don't want to. I'm going to finish this, but I don't want to, flag YouTube's copyright censors and say, you violated copyright. You can't monetize this, you douchebag. Hate this condensation, by the way, but get rid of that. Oh yeah. Actually, I'm going to go with plain Jane whiskey instead of simply the cinnamon flavored stuff. So, but yeah, you probably already saw my Spider-Man mug, and again, it's thanks to my dad I have this. So, yeah. And my dad is a huge nerd. He was a huge nerd growing up. Let's see, what do I want? I'll do this type of cola. I have to physically see what I'm doing, or my clumsiness will get the best of me. But I don't have to stir anything, really. It just kind of mixes. Actually, this is, instead of cinnamon flavored whiskey, I have spiced rum. So, anyway, oh, you're still there. That's pretty cool. Right now, if you go to the event page that's been shared on various social media outlets, you can actually say something. Hell, you can share pictures if you wanted to. Let me know you're there, to be honest. And actually, I'm going to close this one document out that I was using for a podcast episode for notes. Okay, let me switch back to this so I can see myself. Anyway, right now, I don't know. I'm surprised I still have one viewer, by the way, but thank you for tuning in on the live broadcast. I am still here, and yeah, technically it's supposed to have ended about 7 minutes ago, but I think I'll stick around for a few more minutes, just to kind of let you in on some of the stuff that I'm wanting to do. I want to eventually own a Raspberry Pi 2. And here's why. I want to, the ARM architecture, I like the idea of the ARM architecture. I think it's pretty cool. I think the x86 architecture, even the x86, too much hegemony in the market for way too long. There needs to be competition. Back when Apple had their iMacs, or their Macs, their PowerBooks, their iMacs, and such, and before they came up with their MacBooks, they went off of the Power PC architecture, which is RISC-based, the reduced instruction set kind of thing. And the cool part is that it provided competition. Some of their stuff was equivalent. Some of their stuff outperformed some of the Intel processors that had technically higher clock speeds at the time. Of course, Intel eventually caught up, innovated, came up with new ways, and the clock speeds of the various PowerPC processors, they just didn't have enough oomph. And I still want to own an old school PowerPC Macintosh. I had one at one point. I had to loan it to somebody else, and eventually the thing fried, but that's all right. I had a G4 PowerBook and everything else, and OS 10 functioned okay on it, but I could tell that the thing was not performing very, very fast, or rather, it was showing its age and everything else. So I eventually I had parted with it because a friend of mine Their computer had fried. I loaned it to them. The thing eventually died. And yeah, the person smoked like a chimney, but at some point that thing was going to die anyway. It was pretty old. So no big deal. And all of that. So not a biggie or anything like that. So let's see what else, because I don't want to just walk away, because I actually do like this flying solo thing and having somebody see my face, even though it's kind of like, oh my God, what the hell is this, right? And everything else. And again, if you want to comment on the event in question, you are free to do so. Because I'm still talking, and I don't mind talking. Hell, I'll +1 the event. Why not? And actually, I may very well have events like this in the future where I just come on at random and everybody can talk and be like, or watch and say, oh, cool. He has something really cool to say. Because honestly, I enjoy this and everything else. So I have to have something else for you. Oh, I actually do, which is weird. Not that this is an endorsement of a particular brand. I do have, I've had to acquire these because here in the world headquarters, it is in a wonderful building and all of that, but the electrical outlets are old. So it's two-prong, but a lot of my stuff has three-prong plugs, a grounding plug. So I've had to get these and everything else. And I'd like to think that one day I can move my Final Fantasy VII wall scroll over here. If not, no big deal. You'll probably see it at some point and all of that. I hate these itches. Honestly, and by the way, this I've had for years, and this is not an endorsement, by the way. Oh hell, I may. None of these are ad product placements, but this is a USB to PS2 adapter. I knew there was a reason I haven't sold it, but chances are it's because I may very well wind up needing it for a troubleshooting kit one day, and all of that. But yeah. But let's see what else, because I feel like I'm leaving something out, and I can't quite remember what it is. But I think I'll go ahead and wrap up now, because I've been here for a few minutes and kind of talking back and forth and all of that sort of stuff. And I don't want to make the podcast longer than it already is. For those of you for the one who's watching it, for those who may be watching on YouTube now, by the time this is recorded, this Friday is going to be episode 75. Curtis, Warren, and myself talk about various forms of vandalism throughout national parks, as well as, just national parks, international landmarks. We even touch upon Stonehenge, the Roman Colosseum, and what have you. This is Curtis Warren's first episode in a couple months actually, and it's something he's very, very passionate about. And I don't think, and for those of you who may be wondering, why are you talking about national parks? You're talking about overlooked pop culture. That is overlooked pop culture. There's a dedicated following to those who want to be outside nature, learn about the history of the area, things like that. But you're not going to always find it on the front page of a newspaper, unless something major happens like a disaster or something. Um, and there's other stuff that I'd like to talk about in the future with him, including what's going on in the Middle East, because there's all sorts of angles that we can look at with what's going on currently in the Middle East. But we'll be this Friday podcast feed, you'll be hearing that for the first time. A week from this Friday, you'll be listening to this, me talking about some of the stuff that I've acquired and some of the plans for the website and what have you. And by the way, among my plans, I'd like to also include Stephen Kelly in a few more episodes, if at all possible, because he's been involved in other podcasts now, and it's actually really cool. Maybe have some guests on from the podcasts that he's been on. I would very much like that, and kind of cross promote. But I'm going to go ahead and kind of do a quick summary real quick. And this in order, by the way. For my birthday, by the way, which was on the 9th of March this month, I got myself, which I didn't quite get on that Monday / Tuesday, what have you. But I got it just days before. I got myself an Android tablet, which there's a good reason why, because I like the idea of sitting downstairs and doing various things on it, and being able to talk to people, chat with people through that. I also managed to acquire, okay, I'm a bit out of order. I apologize for that. But I acquired that recently on my birthday. I also, this obviously was the first thing I acquired way before that, because I needed a new phone before I moved directly up to Warrensburg again. But I now have this phone, which is really, really cool. And I really, 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 really like it, by the way. Man, I really like it. It suffices when I'm connected to mobile hotspots. One of the apps I install makes it easier for me to add service cards to it. Only problem is, for whatever reason, it doesn't let me turn off Wi-Fi forever, but that's okay. Since I'm near most Wi-Fi hotspots anyway. This Wi-Fi hotspot, my darn clumsiness is getting the best of me. This Wi-Fi hotspot, if I'm at a convention or I'm on lunch at my primary occupation for paying for living expenses, I'll be able to do work on the website through that and everything else. And again, this has a 32 gigabyte micro SD card, as does this, because I am not going to run out of space anytime soon. That would be stupid. So in correct order this time, I apologize again. I have the Galaxy S4, not the latest, but no slouch by any means in terms of Android smartphones. I acquired this tablet, and I have the appropriate cable, by the way. I have the SD card inside of this to expand its storage. I have the appropriate cable to hook it up to my TV if I wanted to. And I have, and it works pretty well. And I've actually watched anime through Crunchyroll on it. And yes, Crunchyroll has an Android app through the Google Play Store. It's awesome. If you subscribe, you can actually queue shows and everything else. I haven't subscribed. I can view one episode at a time. And then finally, because I realized I need to get work done online at some point, this 4G LTE hotspot device from ZTE. Fits the bill very, very well. And mobile hotspot access from Straight Talk, the prices are very compelling, to say the least. I decided to take the plunge and try it, and it actually works quite well. I just have to make sure it's in a good, I was sitting in the corner in my workplace break room. I had to move it to another spot to get a slightly better signal, and then boom, it worked. Likely I would use mobile devices on it because it's going to work a little bit better with mobile devices anyway, but like my tablet and what have you. So I want to be able to do more original articles for the website. I want to be able to have a couple more podcast co-hosts. And by the way, I do already have one person in mind that I would like to ask, but I would have to see if they'd be interested. And this is why you get a case for your phone. Some of the stuff that I've gotten from the refrigerator and freezer. And yes, if you want a good quality, relaxing time, some of your whiskey, some of your rum. It's a trick that I learned from my current roommate. And kind of a funny story to end this is he and I started out as friends in high school. He and I went to the local vocational technical school because that was our way of escaping our high schools respectively for the rest of the day. And I eventually got my certification in technology information management, which is a glorified title for a person who's computer repair technician, IT person, whatever. It was lower level stuff anyway. But I ran into him years later. Like, I encountered him off and on through my job, but I encountered him years later when I was living in Warrensburg, not far from where I was working at the time. He needed a place to stay. He had nowhere else to go. Well, he had one other place to go, except the couple was vegan. He could eat all the meat he wanted, but he couldn't bring it upstairs into the apartment, which, in my opinion, was absolutely stupid. But it would have had a washer and dryer and everything else, but I turned out to be the cheaper option. He and I had a conflict, and this is, by the way, and yes, I'm trying to avoid going into as much detail as possible because, the past is the past, and sometimes the best way to move on is just to move on. But there is a lesson to learn on this. Do not move too fast in a relationship. Okay? If you feel very, very, very uncomfortable deep down inside, do not develop a hero complex. Do not, and I repeat, do not develop a hero complex and say, I'm going to save this person from this situation or that. That's not for you to do. That's for that person to do themselves. If that person is in such a horrible situation, they are more than capable, more than intelligent enough to figure it out on their own, and they will fix it themselves when they are ready. Because one of the things I've learned is you can manipulate people to an extent. You can encourage them. You can inspire them to a degree. But they are ultimately the ones to make life changes themselves, as it should be. Because if they make positive changes in their life, but for the wrong reasons, if those reasons go away, those changes revert badly. And that's the big problem. And that's where I screwed up. But he and I had a falling out. But then there was this weird situation that happened, and now the roles are reversed. He's not living with me. I'm living with him now. Because the person who lived with him bailed on him. And it blows. But it worked out for me. And here I am right now. Here I am. Here I am. And I just lost my viewer, but that's probably because I'm about to end this show. And I want to get back in the habit of recording episodes in advance so that there is content week after week after week. But here's the thing. I'm now living with this person, and you discover who true friends are. And this guy's a true friend. I still manage one of his fan pages. And it's a really good fan page. It's really nice. And it's linked in the show notes, by the way. And there aren't going to be very many show notes for this one. But it'll be linked in the show notes. On thenextreport.com, click the podcast link, and boom, you'll be there on our feed and everything else. And use your favorite RSS feed reader to subscribe to our podcast. You can download our latest episodes. And yeah, you can even stream online. But I want you to download our episodes. And yes, our file's a little bit bigger than most. But if we did the standard podcast thing, guess what? We would sound like we were coming out of a frickin' tin can, and that's not what I wanted. Our shows are recorded in 44.1 kilohertz, 16-bit stereo, because we want you to be able to hear our voices in very decent quality. And if we mix other tracks, stereo tracks, we want you to have experience possible. So yeah, you're going to need some broadband, or if you're on dial-up, and yes, there are people who still use dial-up, it will require some patience. And one of the benefits to eventually subscribing to the online digital magazine is in the mail, you'll receive a lot of our new podcast episodes. The first several, we will catch you up on some of our old podcasts. So you, as a service, you'll receive our old podcast episodes that you can copy to your computer and listen. And you can be like, oh, okay, this is how this has evolved over time. And we've evolved many, many times. But I'm going to go ahead and end this for now, because I'm redundant, I'm rambling, and we've got better things to do with our time, don't we? It's Monday. It's time to get on with our week. So entertain yourself, educate yourself, empower yourself. Check out our website at www.thenextreport.com, THENIXEDREPORT.com. You'll find our social networking sidebar on the left-hand side. We are also on thenextreport.tumblr.com. You'll find some updates on there on occasion. But like our fan page, follow our Google Plus page, and share our most pertinent status updates with everybody you can find. We're on Twitter. We're practically everywhere. We're actually on LO as well, so feel free to find us wherever you can. Share whatever we have. The more who know about us, the better. And to the one viewer who listened to our Hangouts on Air event for a few minutes, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'd like to show you where I'm at some point. and that's part of the exclusive content for subscribing. And you'll see various prices available in the near future. But for now, know that there are benefits to subscribing to the magazine. There will be, and know that you'll have an even more direct say, higher priority say in regards to some stuff we do if you contribute to the magazine. And our website, thenextreport.com, we have ways you can contribute. For now, ignore the Bitcoin address because we got to update that. I kind of lost that when moving to a new phone and then having to move yet again to a new phone and then a new phone after that. So until then, entertain yourself, educate yourself, empower yourself. I'm Thomas Holbrook II, and I look forward to hearing from all of you on episode 77. You guys take care, all right?